What's up, people? Welcome to week 7. I think last time I said the wrong number because it seems like the semester is moving really fast, um, and which I think is good and bad. It's good, I think, for those people who are like they want to get it over with, and so if it's running, if it feels like it's going fast, that's good. For the people who feel like maybe they're behind or they're drowning, moving fast can be not a great thing. But second to me, second semester always goes faster than first semester. Summer is just right there, getting close and countdown to it. Okay, so this week we're doing poetry. You should have turned in your essay by the time you are watching this. Your essay's done, and like this might be still, you might be watching this early if I post this early, but you might have probably already turned in your essay, hopefully, and you are now going to start on Unit 2, which is great. Unit 2 is our poetry unit. And you will be reading poetry this unit, and you will be writing your second paper on some poems that you analyze. And so we'll be working towards that. This unit is, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, only 5 weeks, just a 5-week unit. This week we're doing the whole intro to poetry. Next week I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to poetry 2, and then I will have your essays hopefully graded within a couple of weeks. So that by the time we get to March 20th, I'll be going over essays that you did that you wrote, so that way you can learn. You can catch things that you did incorrectly, make sure that you do it well, better for SA2. Learn from those mistakes, because that's really essential to becoming a better writer. Okay, so this week we are going to I'm going to talk about poetry in general. We're going to go over some poetry analysis. We're going to go over different elements of poems that you should consider in your analysis, and then I'm going to post a couple of mini lessons on some sample poems, and then you're going to read 2 poems and complete some assignments for those. And there's also this week an extra credit opportunity, which I will go over in just a little bit. This week is week 7. This is where you'll find all the information. Okay, here you will I have already posted the poetry PowerPoint notes in the form of a PDF. These are the 3 analysis videos that you're going to watch. They're all pretty short, and the poems are attached to the video, so you can download the PDF and read the poem as you're watching my analysis videos of these. These are the 3 assignments. Well, actually, there's 2 assignments that are required. If We Must Die by Claude McKay and Let America Be Great Again. And then there is an extra credit option, okay, right here, about The Raven. So if you complete that one also, then you get extra credit. Some of you I know will be really happy about. Okay, I'm gonna get into the PowerPoint now, and which you have access to right here in this PDF. Move my picture. Okay. Okay, poetry. Here we go. I hope you like poetry. I like poetry. I like lyrics. Song lyrics. It's poetry. I just got a ton. I like musicals. I like to teach musicals and teach. We'll go over the lyrics and the songs. And that's poetry. I like doing music videos, looking at songs. I think there's all different types of art. So, but for most of this, we're going to do just traditional poetry. So what is poetry, you might say? As if you don't know. All right, here we go. What's happening? Okay. Poetry is arguably the purest form of writing. Poetry is a sense of the beautiful. It is art. Like art, it is very difficult to define because it is an expression of what the poet thinks and feels. It may take any form the poet chooses for this expression. Prose has rules. Poetry has no rules. Prose has rules like complete sentences and punctuation, paragraph form, structure. Poetry, now some poetry has rules. If you're trying to write iambic pentameter, if you're trying to write a sonnet, you're trying to write a haiku, these are specific forms of artistic expression confined to structure. But then there's also like free form poetry that is very open. It's not easily defined. Okay, it's a creative use of words. Okay, which is intended to stir an emotion in the audience, but also that emotion could be objectivity and logic. Poetry, you can write in fragments. You can write in individual words, statements, or complete sentences. And it is once you call it poetry, you're very much freed to do a lot of what you want to do. So like the subject matter can vary dramatically. There's fixed or free form. Fixed form is a poem that may be categorized by the pattern of its lines, meter, and rhythm or stanzas. A style of poetry that has set rules, example, a sonnet or a venelle, a limerick. Also, sometimes people have their own fixed form. They're like, okay, I'm going to write a poem that has every stanza has 5 lines, and each of those 5 lines is going to have 12 syllables. You know, I can make my own fixed form. And if I'm consistent, then it is a fixed form. It doesn't have to be a traditional fixed form. And there's free form. Free form is a poem that has neither regular rhyme nor regular meter. Free verse often uses cadences rather than uniform metrical feet. It's very much, if you listen to any like spoken word poetry or slam poetry, those tend to be more free form. Like free verse is just what it says. It's poetry that is written without proper rules, without form, rhyme, rhythm, meter, anything. Bob Dylan writes a lot in free form. If you ever listened to Bob Dylan, even though he's old, but I loved him. So lines and stanzas. The basic unit of poetry is the line. It serves the same function as the sentence in prose, although most poetry maintains the use of grammar within the structure of the poem. Lines are also often grouped into stanzas. Stanza is equivalent to like a paragraph in prose. Often the lines in a stanza will have specific rhyme scheme, or they don't. Sometimes a stanza is created for the topic of what's being discussed. Sometimes it's created for the rhythm, for the rhyme scheme itself. Here's an example of a poem. This is called Last Night I Went Out Walking. I'm going to show it to you, and we're going to break it down into its stanzas and lines. Okay, so the things that appear in parentheses are line numbers. Here's the poem. Last night I went out walking, out on the edge of town, not going no place special, only wandering around. I came upon a river. I thought about what you said and couldn't stop it flowing and running through my head. You said that I've been changing and never seemed to laugh, but I can't recall the last time you smiled and is tearing me in half. I want to run and tell you the thoughts that are in my head, but I don't think that you'd believe a single word I said. The river's waters run so cool, it calms my burning skin. It takes away my aching thoughts and cleanses all of my sin. So let it flow on, take me down to sleep that quiet sleep, and roll my body back to you, my love, you may always keep. Last night I went out walking. There are 24 lines in this poem, 24. And stanzas, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 stanzas. 24 lines, 6 stanzas. Last night, I went out walking. Good poem. There's a lot of symbolism in it. It's to one, it's both literal and figurative. This person is walking. They're thinking about their partner. They get to a bridge, and then you can interpret the ending. Either they kill themselves, they jump in the river and they die, or they come to peace with their relationship. The river is more symbolic of them coming to a place of peace within themselves, and now they can go back to their lover feeling rejuvenated. To me, that's what I interpret this. I interpret this poem because I know that the writer and her husband, they both deal with different mental illnesses, and so to me, when he's going through a low period, this is her having to leave the house because he's in a bad place, and maybe it's after a fight. She walks out and she has to recollect herself. And when she does that and calms down, she's ready to return back to him and to go in and handle the situation. That's what I read in this, mainly because she's not dead. She didn't jump in the river and kill herself because she's still writing. So I think that's more like symbolic. Okay, so that's last night I went out walking. So now let's talk about figurative language. So in the poems that you'll be studying and reading, you'll need to analyze their language. Whenever you describe something by comparing it to something else, you are using figurative language. Figurative language is any language that goes beyond the literal meaning of words in order to furnish new effects or fresh insights into an idea or a subject. The most common figures of speech are simile, metaphor, and alliteration. Figurative language is used in poetry to compare two things that are usually not thought of as being alike. We got similes, comparison using like or as. Strong as a lion or an ox? Oh, brave as a lion. Okay. Or dumb as an ox. Who wants to be that? That's terrible. Metaphor. When you have two things are being compared, but you don't use like or as directly. Clouds are cotton candy. Grandpa was a mule. Tom is a rock. Okay. Clouds literally are not cotton candy, but they are fluffy. Extended metaphor. I like this one. A figure of speech that compares two essentially unlike things at some length and in several ways. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. This goes on and on, talks about how life is like a play, and there's actors. There's a great reference to this in this poem called "The Love Song of J. Efford Prufrock," where it's ultimately the speaker feeling so down on himself that he's like, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. But he says that he is no Hamlet or Macbeth. He's just the fool in his own play. He's not even the hero in his own play of life. He is just a jester, a fool, someone to be mocked, a coward. Very sad. Very sad. Very sad metaphor. Personification, figurative language in which a non-human subject is given human characteristics. The wind gently called her name. Okay. Imagery. Usually these words or phrases create a picture in the reader's mind. Some imagery appeals to the other 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, smells. Sight, smoke mysteriously puffed. Nothing is out, not our, from his ears. Sound, he could hear a faint but distant thump. The burlap wall covering scraped his skin. Okay, all right, gotcha. Symbolism, the most important. I love symbolism. The practice of representing things by means of symbols or of attributing symbolic meanings or significance to objects, events, or relationships. A person, place, or thing or idea that stands for something else. They are used deliberately to reinforce meaning. So to me, like, I'm gonna go way back to that poem. A river, water is symbolic of rejuvenation. Water is always a good thing. Water is always positive. It stands for rebirth. It's a biblical allusion of like baptism. So the fact that like this person gets to this river, and when they're at the river, they find peace in their relationship or in their life. That's symbolic because the point of a river, the symbolism of a river, is that it is healing, it is a baptismal, it is new life, it's regenerative, and it's safe and it purifies. So this is an appropriate symbol, having this speaker come to the river to be able to be rejuvenated in her patience and love for her husband, to then go back to him to help him deal with his troubles. Okay, it's an appropriate symbol. Okay, blah 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 blah. Okay, an allusion is a reference to another piece of work that's formerly has already been stated. Okay, the writer makes a reference to an event or a person or a piece of literature or a film or a song that people know. Diction is the word choice. Sometimes people want to speak fancy, and sometimes people want to speak more common. I love curse words. I like diction that reflects the common vernacular of people. So when I come across a poem that has some sort of curse word in it, I'm like, oh, that's great, cool. A lot of times you come across, but when I come across poetry that has very elevated word choice, diction, then I'm like, okay, you're trying to be like overly sophisticated. No. But then also we have things like connotation and denotation. Word choice that is motivated by its meaning, its dictionary definition, or words that are used based upon its common understanding of a word. Like the connotation is the unofficial understanding, use, or association of a word, while denotation is the official definition of a word. But the official definition isn't always the best way to use a word. Okay, so like a snake. A snake often has a evil or dangerous association to it, even though the denotation of a snake is just that of a reptile. It doesn't have any emotional meaning. But if people hear a lyric, a song, or a poem or story with a snake in it, generally that snake is going to be have a negative connotation. We have tone, which is the author's attitude about a subject. What is their tone? Are they being sarcastic? Are they praising? Are they being disrespectful on purpose? Okay, and it's implied through the work. So here we have this excerpt from the poem "The Road Not Taken" by Robert Frost. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. In this example, Frost is calmly interpreted as looking back on his experience with joy. That is true if he were to speak those lines cheerfully. However, imagine that he actually says, when he says sigh, he appears sullen when he says, that has made all the difference. The entire meaning of the poem has changed, and Frost is indeed not thrilled with the choice he made in the past. Tone. All right, and the theme, the most important thing is theme. This is one thing that we're going to talk about the most. And all that stuff builds up the theme. The symbolism and tone and diction, all that stuff is really used to build up to theme, which we'll spend a lot more time talking about, especially like next week. The main idea or message of a literary work, usually a universal truth. A significant statement, story, or poem is making about society, human nature, or the human condition. Theme is not the subject of the work, but instead it is an insight about life or human nature. Theme is an idea. Okay. Sometimes what we're reading is the theme is stated, specifically stated. Other times it's implied. It's revealed gradually through other literary elements such as plot, character setting, point of view, imagery, figures of speech, or symbolism. Theme to me is the most important thing. It has the real meaning in it. Okay, it's the juice. It is the pulp. Is the significance of the piece. Theme. We have this poem by the same person who wrote the previous poem. It's called Stalled. Falling snow spun above the road, winding through the dark woods where my pickup stalled. Falling snow hissing through the air, painting my windows white till the trees disappeared. Even though I started to feel cold and I was far from town, I just sat there in the dark. Great poem. That's a great poem. You might be like, that's a great poem. And if you don't know why that's a great poem, you might not be an English major. You might just be, a medical, biology major or an engineer major. Okay, but if you don't know why that's a great poem, then I don't know if you're going to be an English major. Just saying. Okay, great poem. All right, so falling snow. Hello, the catalyst of death. Falling snow. Winding through. Oh, you're winding through the dark woods. Life's journey. The dark wood. The dark wood. It's old age, man. Woman. Person. Pick up the truck. That's their life. That's their body going through life's journey and getting to old age. And what happens to that body? Breaks down. Windows turning white. Just old age. Sickening state. White hair. Death coming. Trees have disappeared. Oh, what? I cannot see. I cannot see. It's the coming of death. Not of natural causes. Cold. Cold. I feel cold. Oh, my life force is leaving my body. It's going away. But just because you're faced with imminent death, driving through the dark woods, car breaking down, becoming cold, that's okay. I just sat there in the dark. It's the end of life. At the same time, this is peaceful. This is not scary. It's not foreboding. The speaker's tone is acceptance. Even though I started to feel cold and I was far from town, I sat there in the dark. Even though I'm dying, I'm not scared. Even though I'm dying, and some people want to try to do everything they can to preserve life, I am letting it come. This is a poem about natural old age death. Death coming, the end of your life. A long, long life you lived, and now the next step of the journey begins. Okay, so this is a song about the oncoming of natural death, and the speaker is at peace with it. And instead of dreading it and thinking about all the bad things, instead they're just looking at the snow. Oh! Okay. Now that makes sense to you, and you're like, oh, now I see it. Then you still might have a future as being an English major, okay? You don't always get it right away, okay? But then once you start to build an understanding of words and how they're put together, and the meaning, then, and you enjoy it, then please follow me into the great unknown of English majorism. All right, so this week's work. You are going to read and watch the spring and fall analysis. I'll show that to you again. You're going to read and watch the neutral tones analysis. You're going to read and watch the Madame and her Madame analysis. And then you're going to read If We Must Die and complete the analysis. And then you're going to read Let America Be America Again? And you're going to complete the analysis of that. Okay? All right. Let's go to, so these links, Neutral Tones by Thomas Hardy. If you click on this, it's going to send you here. So you need to first download the poem so you can, it'd be great if you could print it off so you can write on it also, because what I do is, this is a older lecture. This is when I was on my previous computer, and the camera kind of broke, so it made everything black and white. Okay. In this poem, I go over. I read in this video. I read the poem, and then I annotate. As you'll see, I annotate the poem itself. Okay. So you do the same thing. This is a 12-minute video. Madam and her Madam is a 6-minute video. Spring and Fall is an 8-minute video. Honestly, like, you don't have to watch all three if you don't want to. I'm providing you with plenty of examples of me annotating poems, okay? And I just made 3 separate videos annotating these poems. If you feel pretty good already, and you're like, I don't need to watch all this analysis stuff, then, man, you do you, boo, whatever, okay? But I am providing it there for you to watch, and especially if you're not sure, if you feel like inept when it comes to reading poems and analyzing them, then there's some examples for you, okay? And these are the assignments right here, okay? Okay. All right. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be around. Okay. Bye-bye.